National Coordination of National Government. Now, during that interview, Dr. Kibicho made the following allegations about Miguna.
So there was a PS responsible for immigration who was actually the one going with the minister around Miguna thing. But because my dear friend General Kialangwa probably was not attracting sufficient attention, then Kibicho must be brought in because when Kibicho is brought in, then it looks like a serious matter.
So that was really right up your alley.
Yes. I had nothing to do with it, but I have knowledge around it. Mm-hmm. But I had nothing to do with it. Okay. Fact is that until 2020 Constitution, Kenya could not allow what do you call this thing of multiple citizenship.
Mm-hmm. Dual citizen. Mm-hmm.
Could not allow. It was illegal in the country. And anybody who would relocate to another country and acquire citizenship of that country, even if you are born in Kenya with all rights, you would have to denounce the Kenyan one so that you get the other one. But post 2010, the Constitution allowed that you can have multiple citizenship. Tell me what kind of a country we shall be when an individual, because of his beliefs, decides that I will come to the country and I will not even use the internationally acknowledged travel document, which is a passport. I want to use my ID. After all, I'm a Kenyan. Yeah? You know, all this saga was about drama that was uncalled for. Because all you need to do is fill a one-pager. And what happened at that time, I will know because I was in the ministry, is that for Miguna, when all this drama came, it was even taken to him, filled to the airport and told, please sign only here. He took it to it and said, I'm using this ID to enter this country. Really, if you allow that, what happens to your international reputation of managing immigration services? And I think a lot of these things, because there are people who speak louder than others, look like there are issues. But, you know, you cannot hide truth forever.
Now, taking you back on the 14th of December 2018, the High Court, through Justice Chacha Mwita, made a ruling that Mr. Miguna has never lost and could not have lost his citizenship by birth. The court further ruled that Mr. Miguna has never renounced his citizenship by birth and that he had a valid Kenyan passport on February 6, 2018, when he was forcefully removed from Kenya and blocked from returning to the country. In the ruling, the court stated that Mr. Miguna's human and constitutional rights were violated by the government of Kenya and senior government officials when his house was raided. The High Court therefore granted judgment in favor of Mr. Miguna and awarded him damages against Dr. Fred Matiang'i, Gordon Kihalangwa, Joseph Boynet, George Kinoti, and other senior government officials. In addition to Justice Mwita's judgment, there are numerous other court orders in favor of Mr. Miguna. Now, to set the record straight, we have Mr. Miguna joining us live from Canada via Zoom. Right, it is good afternoon in Canada right now. Good to have you, Dr. Miguna.
Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
You've not apologized for what you did.
That's why we're coming to set the record straight, right?
No, I don't set the record straight before you apologize. You have to apologize that you allowed a falsehood to be broadcast on your station when you have court orders that settled the matter. What Dr. Kibicho said is false. Mm-hmm. So I need to hear that from the station before I proceed.
Yes, which of course we agree that we will profusely apologize for the inaccurate misstatement that was made there. And of course I have the ruling, I've gone through it, and it ruled in your favor. We are profoundly sorry for the misaccurate, of course, a statement that was made on air.
Thank you.
Right. So happy felicitations, first of all, I should say to you. Happy New Year's 2026, and it's good to have you. And we just want to go through this particular interview, first of all, interrogating this material matter that we have in the judgment. I know, first of all, that right now you are holding a passport, aren't you?
Of course.
Yes. So maybe you can just begin by telling us, first of all, has the court have you been compensated for this? I know with the 7 million shillings that you are entitled to, and the 240,000 also for the damages of your house, has that come through?
Partly come through.
Partly.
There are aspects of the order that they have not complied with, yes.
Right. Which particular aspects are we talking about?
I was also awarded costs, and they took more than 5 years to pay the principal, decreed amount, but they have not paid interest on it. Mm-hmm. So the cost aspect and the interest have not been paid, but they paid the principal decreed amount. Actually, I should say the individual defendants did not pay. The government of Kenya paid, even though the judge was very clear that the public should not be befuddled with the damages award that the individual defendant should. But as usual, impunity reigns in Kenya. And so the individual defendants, and I will name them, Fred Matiang'i, Gordon Kialangwa, Joseph Boynet, George Kinoti, Said Kiprotich, did not pay anything. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Maybe we could talk about that we know it is very clear that you are a bona fide, of course, citizen of Kenya. Do you think this was politically instigated from the beginning?
Well, it's quite unfortunate, Debal. So let me start by quibbling with a few things from your station and yourself. I made it clear when we had a conference before this call that you should play from the beginning what happened.
Play.
You see, while Dr. Kibicho and others would want to malign my reputation by claiming that there was a drama at the airport, if you start at the beginning, what actually did happen? Mm-hmm. My house was destroyed by explosions or explosives by the government. I was abducted and detained incommunicado for 6 days. I was not taken to court. I was not charged. I was tortured for those 6 days. Eventually, they took me to court in Kajiado. The court in Kajiado ordered them to take me to the Mlimani High Court within 30 minutes on the 6th of January. They failed to do that. Instead, they forced me out of the country. That's the first set of acts. Then, subsequently, multiple court orders, again, including an order by Justice Korir that I should be able to enter the country using my national ID card because they had taken my passport and destroyed it. And when the court ordered them to deliver the destroyed passport, they failed to do so. Uh-huh. And later on did so, but after they punched it. Uh-huh. So when I came back to Kenya on March the 26th, it was not just on the strength of the fact that I was a Kenyan and should not have been removed in Kenya because I did not leave Kenya on my own. It was also on the basis that I had obtained court orders that directed that I be allowed back to Kenya with no conditions. with only my national ID because they had refused to replace the passport they had destroyed. So this thing they are calling drama was actually their drama. They not only stopped me from entering, they detained me, they assaulted me, they tore my clothes, they stole my money, they tried to push me into the plane by force. And when I resisted, they further detained me in a small toilet, a very filthy toilet, at the airport for 3 days, where I continued to be tortured, despite several court orders, including Justice Odunga's order, which directed them not to remove me from the jurisdiction of the court, which essentially means not to remove me from Kenya. They subsequently sedated me and removed me from Kenya unconscious. And I only regained consciousness in Dubai. And then thereafter, I ended up back in exile in Canada. Now, 5 years later, in 2022, after William Ruto was elected president, he issued me with a new passport. I was not required to sign anything. There were no forms or anything. I did not reapply for the passport. I was issued with a passport on the basis that the initial act of seizing the passport and destroying it was illegal ab initio. So when the Kenyan media entertains people like Kibicho, Matiang'i, and the rest to defame me repeatedly, without regard to that public record, which the Kenyan media is aware of because the Kenyan media was there at my house after it was destroyed. The Kenyan media was in Kajiado when I was eventually taken there. The Kenyan media was at the airport. In fact, members of the Kenyan media were assaulted, and many of them were injured during the period that I'm talking about by armed security, Kenyan security personnel, whom Kibicho and Matiang'i were commanding. So these are matters of public record that should not be subject to dispute, debate, or argument. But they are, because we live in a banana republic where everything goes. The media does not care about the facts. Even when they have court orders and judgments, you do not have the courtesy and the decency to show these court orders and judgments to the people you are interviewing and confront them with the facts. And also, what I have noticed, the Kenyan media do not even remind them that I am not there, and the allegations they are making against me, I would not be able to answer to because I am not there. And also, the Kenyan media, unlike when they are usually interviewing me, do not tell them, look, those are allegations, where is the proof? The Kenyan media does not do that. So I wanted to be very clear that the facts are matters of public record, that the court orders are valid and have not been set aside. In fact, Justice Chacha Mwita's judgment of December 14, 2018 was never appealed. Forget about being set aside. It was never appealed. And there is no judgment from the Court of Appeal that has invalidated any of these things we are talking about. When they made reference to the Court of Appeal, they are referring to the judgment that was released recently dealing with the punishment against Matiang'i and others for contempt. Just the punishment, not the fact that they were found in contempt. The court was very clear that the court has not found that they did not commit contempt. The court said that for purposes of procedural requirement, a formal application should have been delivered to them, supported by an affidavit and a hearing heard before they were punished. That's it. but has nothing to do with any of these flagrantly false allegations that they have been making against me. So that's what I wanted to say about.
All right, we shall be also just talking about a raft of issues regarding the politics in the country, and I know you've been doggedly following what is happening currently, and you can also just tell us how you're actually seeing it. You know, they always say that you cannot see the picture if you are in the frame. Now that you are out of the country, maybe you can just give us a very crystal clear and very limpid picture of what is really happening in the country. And by the way, today will have been the 81st birthday of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. So we want to take a short break. When we circle back, you'll tell us more about what you think what is happening in the country. Don't go where you're watching the Daily Report here on TV47. We take a short break.
Here's how you can request for a mobile loan on the new KCB mobile app. Open your KCB mobile app and click on Loans. Click Apply Now on the KCB mobile loan. Confirm your loan limit. Set the amount, duration, and the destination account. Click Apply Now. Confirm the summary and click Request Loan. Enter your PIN. Download the new KCB mobile app today.
Kuja twende sehemu zile za historia, tuone maajabu, tusahau kila tabu, tupige picha zitatesa sana watu. Kenya ni raha tupu, mimi nakwambia, kila kona ni maarufu, utapafurahia. Kwanza Jumatatu, hata Jumatatu.
At MKU, we believe education goes beyond the classroom.
This is for the dreamer, the go-getter.
It is about engaging with ideas, questioning assumptions, working collaboratively, and finding creative solutions to the challenges of our time.
Intech is in progress. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities.
Welcome back. You're watching the Daily Report, and I'm holding court with the Chief Provocateur. This is Miguna. Dr. Miguna is joining us all the way from Toronto, Canada, as we look keenly onto the politics of the current state of playing of politics in the country. And Dr. Miguna, I just wanted to, because you mentioned also Dr. Matiang'i briefly, we had him on September, that is the 20th. There was a report there that Matiang'i was attributing his acquittal of a contempt charges deportation case to God as he worshipped in a Kisii church. You want to comment about it?
Debal, I want to help your viewers.
Yes, please.
He was referring to the civil appeal number 157 of 2018, the judgment that was delivered on the 19th of September 2025. I think allow me to read just a few paragraphs of what the judges said. The judges said, we stress that nothing in this judgment should be read as diluting the seriousness of the alleged disobedience of court orders at JKIA or the court's authority to insist on obedience. Indeed, as we have restated, contempt undermines the rule of law. Our holding is narrow, that the imposition of penal and declaratory sanctions for contempt on 28th to 29th of March 2018 could not, on the procedure employed, be sustained without a formal motion and due process safeguards. We reject the argument that the interim production order by Aburili J and the facilitative directions by Odunga J were per se incapable of an execution or ultra-virus. Whether the first respondent did or did not present a particular travel document at JKI did not license parties to pick and choose among which court orders to obey. Those directions remain a matter of record. Our present intervention is confined to the penal and declaratory aspects of the contempt rulings. And then the court said, the appeal is allowed on the narrow ground that the High Court punished the appellants for contempt without a formally instituted contempt application and attendant due process safeguards. They say nothing in this judgment precludes the first respondent, that is me, or any other competent party from moving to the High Court by a properly instituted application for contempt to be heard and determined on merits in accordance with law. So there was no acquittal. Matiang'i was not acquitted for contempt. Matiang'i was only relieved of the punishment, the fine that was imposed. That's it. So he was celebrating hot air.
Right, it's good that also you clarify on that as well. Let me just ask you, since we saw, we had President William Ruto, of course, his inauguration. Thereafter, we saw you coming back to the country, and we thought this matter has been settled with you. I've also attested to the fact that you got your passport without even making application for that particular passport. Is there any rhyme or reason why then you're not in the country, or you've just elected to be in Toronto, Canada, to continue with your life? Because I think you're really fighting so hard for this particular passport and for this matter to be dealt with completely.
Thank you very much, Debal, for that question. It is an unfortunate question, but I will answer it. First of all, as a Kenyan, just like you,
yes,
you choose where to work, you choose where to live, you choose when to travel out or into Kenya without any questions asked of you to explain where you've gone, why you have gone, where you have gone, or for how long. The same rights apply to me. But more importantly, which is glossed over by many people, because they have never experienced the kind of injustice that I have experienced. If you are forcefully removed from your country in the conditions in which I was and denied return to your country for 5 years, you would not just sit somewhere doing nothing. You see, unlike Maduro, who is jailed in New York right now and cannot leave and cannot work and cannot do anything, I, fortunately, even though I was in exile, I could still go on with aspects of my life. So I reestablished a law firm in Ontario so that I could also support my family and myself and continue doing the basic things that normal human beings do. So when eventually I was allowed to exercise my rights like any other Kenyan in 2022, I could not just turn the clock back and pretend that the 5 years had not lapsed and that I did not have a practice and did not have clients and was not going on in some way with my life. So the practice remained, and I could not abandon my practice because my life had come to a standstill. Like many Kenyans working all over the world, there are Kenyans working all over the world. Some are diplomats, some are professors, some are lawyers, some are doctors. They're working in Rwanda, they're working in South Africa. The same way with me. I happen to have a practice in Ontario, and during that period, I continued to practice law and had to come back to my practice even though the asylum had ended. So right now, I'm just like you, who went to Kakamega last week for Christmas and stayed there until yesterday you returned to Nairobi. I will return to Nairobi when I have some time to do so. So the long and short of it is that I'm not in exile right now. I am simply working in Ontario, Canada, the same way people work in Mombasa, in Rwanda, and in South Africa. Thank you.
Well, I thought that was a private conversation that, yes, you should have consumed privately. Now that you've relayed it anyway, I just chuckled. But thank you, Dr. Miguna. I needed to ask, because the reason I'm asking this as well, I've mentioned that today is the 81st birthday of the late Raila Odinga. So we are celebrating, or the country, or the party has been celebrating it posthumously. First of all, since you and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga had a storied history, you got along famously at some point, and then, of course, we saw there were differences that occurred that drove a wedge between you. We expected, or maybe, I don't know, that Miguna will maybe come to the country and also mourn with the family of Raila Odinga. First of all, how did you receive this information of his death?
I received it the same way you did. Death or life does not stop everything. So I don't understand the question. I don't think I had a storied relationship with Raila. My relationship with Raila cannot be equated to the relationship he had with Uhuru Kenyatta or even William Ruto. I mean, those people have spent decades fighting and feuding publicly, saying nasty things to each other. I think I only had what you would call a story relationship vis-a-vis the betrayals. I mean, I am not one of these Kenyans that gloss over this thing. Raila betrayed me twice. So to that extent, that is public record. He betrayed me in 2011, and he betrayed me in 2018, when he went to bed with Uhuru Kenyatta after Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto had tortured me, detained me, and exiled me from Kenya because I had sworn him in as the people's president. So I was tortured because of the stance I took vis-a-vis William Ruto's and Uhuru Kenyatta's stealing of the 2017 election, which Raila won. And so I supported Raila in that quest, notwithstanding the relationship that people think we had before. Because to me, the principal position was that whoever wins an election should be sworn in as president. Raila won the 2017 election and should have been sworn in as president, not Uhuru Kenyatta. I maintain that position. Uhuru Kenyatta grabbed power by force. The election was nullified. Raila then boycotted the runoff, which was going to be a repeat of the stolen election, because all the orders that the IEBC made with respect to the opening of the servers and the changes to the Electoral Commission to ensure that there was going to be a repeat were not done. So it was going to be a show cause kind of action, a performative act. It was not going to be instrumentally a credible election that was going to produce a result that would have shown the will of the people. And I was not going to stand for it. So that's really what happened. Now, I did express my condolences to the family of Raila Odinga due to his death. But I was not going to leave everything I'm doing because Raila has died. I mean, there are so many people who die every day. So many Kenyans have died. So many people in the world die every day. And Raila was not more special than they were. And so Raila never came to my relatives' funerals. I lost many, including my sister-in-law and my father-in-law and many youth that supported me in 2018 after he betrayed me. So there was nothing special about Raila's death, even though Kenyans think he was special because of the positions he held. Each one of us is the same. We are all human beings, and our lives are important. There is nobody's life that is more important than the other. And that's the principle on which I live my life. If you treat me fairly, I will treat you fairly. If you are kind to me, I will be kind to you. But if you are unkind to me, I have no reason to be kind to you. If you betray me, I have to speak the truth as an honest man. It would be hypocritical for me to come on TV and lie that Raila was a glorious, great man the way that some Kenyans have been constructing him. No, Raila betrayed millions of Kenyans. Millions of Kenyans have died, have been maimed, and have suffered because of Raila Odinga, and he never thought of them when he went to bed with Uhuru Kenyatta, and recently when he went to bed with Ruto. Because we have to remember, Raila betrayed the Gen Zs. This has to be said, and this has to be said very strongly. If Raila Odinga had not come in and intervened to support Ruto, we would have a new dispensation. Ruto would be out of power, and we would not be here suffering under the conditions that we are suffering through because of William Ruto's tyrannical regime. But he did that. He did that because of selfish reasons. He did not do that because he loves Kenyans or because he loved peace. He did that for his stomach. He was paid and he was given appointments for members of ODM. This has to be said. I'm one of these people that will always set the record straight. We cannot coddle this bad behavior, because if we do, we are not going to change Kenya and transform it for the benefit of everyone.
Well, but it is undeniable that we can go back and dial, the time machine and look at the different facets of maybe the story of Kenya, where Raila Odinga has been a bulwark of consolidating democracy in this country, fighting also for, of course, multi-party democracy as we enjoy it today. So sometimes, yes, you can have your own frailties and you can have your own, shortfalls and also maybe weaknesses at the end of the day. So we have to take the smooth with the rough. Just briefly before it.
But you see, the problem is that people have been glorifying everything without taking an accounting. What we need is an audit, a proper audit, an objective, scientific, and truthful audit. Raila did not fight for multipartyism alone.
All right.
It was also a struggle, and there are many Kenyans that were part of it. The problem I have, listen to me.
Yeah, yes, we need to...
I have to say,
okay,
the problem I have is elevating a few people, the elite, above everybody else. There are many, many, many Kenyans, okay? Thousands of Kenyans who paid the ultimate price for this country of ours. And they are barely mentioned, if at all. But then there are elites that have had contradictory, inconsistent, and sometimes very retrogressive contributions when you now analyze their contribution from the beginning to the end. And Raila is one of them.
All right.
When the history of Kenya is properly written, Raila will not, in the end, be a positive factor in Kenya's progress. It will be seen as a retrogressive.
All right. I think it's just hung up technical challenges there. We'll get back to Miguna briefly as we try to reconnect and continue pace with the conversation, just looking at what is currently happening, the current state of play as far as politics is concerned. Talking of politics, Orange Democratic Movement leaders from the Coast region have offered fresh clues into the party's political strategy ahead of the 2027 general election, signaling a readiness to be part of a future coalition, even as they maintain support for President William Ruto's administration. In the Miguna, sorry for the lapse a bit. They always say that monkeys are hanging on the line. Yeah, some of the challenges we have, of course, with the internet infrastructure. But thank you. I hope you've not lost your train of thought.
No, but I wanted to say this is why we are a third world country. This is why I called Kenya a banana republic. You cannot convince anyone that it was a technical glitch. You cannot convince anyone. This was done deliberately to interfere with my train of thought and to make sure that I do not say what I was saying. I will repeat what I was saying.
Yeah, you go full steam ahead, because actually it was...
The reason why Kenya has not progressed and we are basically stalled where we were in 1963 is because of this. We praise mediocrity, we worship hypocrisy, we embrace traitors, and we do not speak truth to power consistently and fearlessly enough. If we do not name the problems accurately, the problems that have been bedeviling the country, we will not be able to solve them. If we do not identify negative traits in quote-unquote leadership, we would not be able to get appropriate leadership that would be able to transform our country. And that is what has been happening. Decade after decade after decade, you have the same kind of cartels, the elites who are organized to do nothing but plunder the economy and choreograph differences among the population so that they can divide the people and rule them. And it is the elite that own the media. It is the elite that own the chattering, heads, the so-called media personalities, journalists and reporters. And it is the elites that hire the so-called analysts to come and numb the consciousness and the sensitivities of Kenyans so that we don't identify the problems that we've been facing since 1963. And that is why I said, when we do a proper accounting and we do a proper audit of Raila's legacy, we will find that he has more deficiencies than he has credits, which means, in other words, very little for Kenyans to learn from and very little that Kenyans should emulate. We should say this repeatedly. We have historically not been very good at identifying our heroes. We no longer talk about Pio Pinto Gama, for example, or Makan Singh, for example, or Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, who was more of a hero than Raila Odinga. But we worship Raila Odinga because he had a lot of people that were either being paid by the government through public means or that he was himself paying, that would continue to worship and praise him as if he was a demigod. Raila was not a demigod. And the fact that today is his 81st birthday should not matter to anyone. Why should we celebrate Raila Odinga's 81st birthday as a country? We have many problems that Raila Odinga and others inflicted on the people. That's what we should focus on, not on Raila Odinga, the man who betrayed thousands of Kenyans.
Right, but maybe you'll make us understand as well, because you've worked with him before as a presidential, as a prime minister's advisor. Why then did you elect to work with Raila Odinga if you knew he has all this, foibles that you're talking about?
You see, and that's another unfortunate question, because I was not working for Raila Odinga as a private servant. Miguna was a senior advisor to the Prime Minister of Kenya. Raila Odinga happened to be occupying a public office called the Prime Minister's office. And I was an advisor to that office. I was a public servant. The same way Raila was a servant should have been a public servant.
But did he appoint you? He appointed you.
No. Let me finish, please.
Okay,
Let me finish.
All right.
Because I think this is a point that people don't seem to understand. An advisor is not a messenger. An advisor is not a bodyguard. An advisor is not a spokesman. You're supposed to advise on public policy. You're supposed to advise only on things that advance public interest. I was an advisor on constitutional affairs and on coalition affairs. In other words, I was supposed to advise him to do things that protected public interest. So I was working for the people. When I noticed that he had digressed from focusing on public interest, I spoke about it. I wrote about it. I disagreed with him because that was my job. My job was not to protect Raila Odinga, the person. My job was to protect the public interest. And when he frayed away from that, I called him out like I should have. But of course, the mediocre Kenya or Kenyans, instead of noticing that I was protecting their interest, no, they go to worship the person who was doing exactly the opposite. And I have documented that in more than 600 pages, none of which most of you have even read or care about. But that doesn't mean that someone like me should stop talking about it. I will stop talk about it. You see, the same Kenyans that are worshiping right now Trump's illegal and outrageous intervention and violation of the sovereignty of Venezuela. Kenyans like to worship those with power, including those that are abusing the power, because to them, the powerful are immune from criticism. I don't suffer from that illness.
Okay. Right. Maybe we can flip also the conversation to the party politics. When I had mentioned that he was a key cog in consolidating democracy and shaking it into place in this country as well. And with the unfolding events of, the BBI, you joining Uhuru Kenyatta then, and now with William Ruto, do you think these coalitions and the broad-based government and even the BBI that was nullified by the courts as well is a threat to multi-party democracy from your own assessment?
Oh, absolutely. The BBI directly attacked at the core of democracy and constitutionalism. And that's why the courts nullified it. But Raila Odinga was at the center of it, yet he gets no blame for driving a retrogressive agenda to undermine our constitutional democracy. The BBI was supposed to turn Kenya into some kind of a Bantustan, where a few families would rule over millions of Kenyans forever. It was a choreographed constitutional coup that undermined the very bedrock of our constitutionalism or constitutional democracy. And so many of us opposed it right at the outset. And we were told the train had left the station and would not stop. And they were going to force this come rain, come high water. They failed. And then before he died, he was trying to do the same thing. He was talking about bringing in a referendum with Ruto so that he could continue doing exactly what he had been doing with Uhuru Kenyatta. So it did not matter what kind of person was at State House. Raila Odinga always found a way of choreographing some kind of political crisis so that he could be at the center of it as the hero. So no, I disagree. Raila Odinga did not help consolidate democracy. Raila Odinga undermined democracy.
But if we may track back to the BBI issue, the germinal idea that brought about the BBI was the fact that, from in his own words, that we were actually a country with a trust deficiency, right? So can we go about the country getting, public participation on how we can enhance and try and engender trust from the populace, because the center is not really speaking to the periphery. Don't you think even still, up to now, that yes, we have a fresh clod of soil still on his grave, the country still mistrusts the upper reaches of government, the establishments that we do have, the elitist politics that you're talking about?
And Raila was at the center of the establishment that the people mistrusted. I mean, are you guys forgetting that just a year ago, Raila could not stand anywhere and speak? I mean, the Gen Zs were telling him, we don't trust you. You are not speaking for us. We did not appoint you our spokesperson. And who appointed Raila the barometer, the gauge for trust deficiency? You see, Kenya is a society of the rich versus the poor. Raila was not poor. Raila was a billionaire. So it was among the rich, the less than 1% of the country, that the majority of Kenyans do not trust. And he spent more than 35 years supporting the system that the people do not trust. The BBI was not supposed to engender trust between the people and the 1%. The BBI was supposed to perpetuate the system that created what you call the mistrust. But the problem is more than mistrust. The problem is the brutal, inhumane plunder of the country by the 1%. The inhumane abuse of power by the 1%. The complete dismantling of all institutional levers that can control and manage democracy. You see, democracy is not just a word. It's supposed to embody the rule of the people by themselves over their own lives. But can anyone tell me that Kenya is a democratic state? Can anyone convince me that Ruto represents more than 50% of Kenyans? No, he doesn't even represent 18%, not even 10% of Kenyans. And the elite, mostly the members of parliament, the senior bureaucrats along Harambee Avenue and other avenues in Kenya, these are the less than 1%, yet they control and they consume more than 85% of the revenue that are produced from people's taxes. So what kind of a society is that? But Raila was very proud of that kind of lopsided system, where the majority who work, who produce, who pay taxes, do not benefit from what they produce. So no, I have a problem with the characterization of the problem as a trust deficit without identifying who is mistrusting whom and why the people who mistrust the 1% mistrust them. And then elevating Raila to the position of the person who is being trusted, who was being trusted. Raila was not trusted by Kenyans. So I will say that, even if some people will lose sleep over this today.
Mm-hmm. But before now, maybe your differences, you were the one who was actually there at Uhuru Park, you know, with him holding the Bible and swearing him as the people's president. When we talk about the people, of course, we know that's the preamble of this country, the constitution, we the people. And that is, of course, a hallmark of democracy at the end of the day. So how come now, today, you're speaking differently from the person that you thought this is the person that we should be pedestalizing as the beacon of maybe installing democracy with the people's president? This is the person that the people wants to be the leader of this country. Now you're diametrically different from what you were standing for on that particular podium on that day.
No. Dibala, I think the problem is the myopia of the media. The problem is not me. I think I've explained very clearly that, first of all, I did not support Raila's election in 2017. I think that's a matter of public record. I ran as a gubernatorial candidate for Nairobi, as an independent candidate. Raila had a crook called Evans Kidero as a candidate in Nairobi. I opposed Evans Kidero. Evans Kidero was the ODM candidate, and everybody knows his history, right? In terms of misappropriation of public funds and whatnot. So I could not support that. But I have said, and I repeat, we had an election in 2017. Raila was a presidential candidate. Uhuru was a presidential candidate. And Raila won the presidential election in 2017. As a man who believes in the rule of law and the principle of constitutionalism and democracy, even though I did not support Raila Odinga, I recognize the fact that he won. And I would support anyone who wins. If Kenyans decide today, God forbid, to elect the worst crook in the Republic of Kenya as their president, and the elections are credible, I will want that person to be sworn in as president because I believe in the rule of law. That's exactly what I was doing. It's not inconsistent with what I'm saying today. I'm saying Kenyans, in their myopia, elected a crook. I swore in their crook as their president. That's not a crime. I obeyed the call of the people. They said, we want our crook. And Miguna gave them their crook.
So you knew he was a crook then when you were swearing him in?
Of course. I was swearing a crook, but the crook had been elected.
Isn't it reductive of you to call him a crook and to call Dr. Evans Kidero a crook as well?
Kidero has been charged and is still facing charges in court as a crook. I mean, come on, my friend.
Okay.
This is not debatable.
He's not here to defend himself, so I don't want to have another issue.
No. Okay, fine. But you say that, but you never said that when I was being defamed. But let me say this. I hope that you have read the Auditor General's reports when Kidero was the governor. I have done so year after year after year for 5 years. Kidero presided over unprecedented plundering of public funds in the Nairobi County. It is documented. It has not been refuted. He has not even opposed it. He has never taken the Auditor General to court. He has not said these reports are false. So if you go by the Auditor General's reports, forget about the charges he's facing. Mm-hmm. The reports themselves, then Kidero is a crook.
But he's not here to defend himself, and I think he's reductive of you to call him a crook as well. Yes,
what kind of media is this that refuses to look at the Auditor General's reports?
Okay.
Tell me
okay.
if I'm lying.
Okay. I think this is a subsidiary issue that we're talking about, Kidero, because I wanted just to look at... Yes,
extremely important. It's so important.
He's not here to defend himself.
No, wait. It's so important that people like myself and yourself always adhere to public interest. The Kenyans have been saying since independence that they want a system that is transparent, that is accountable, that has integrity, that protects public funds, that protect public interest. And I've taken a very keen interest in this throughout my life. I swore when I was a youth, even before I was youth, when I was a child, that the injustices that I had observed, that I have read about, that I have been part of, that I have been a victim of, that I will oppose them with every fiber in my body, and that I will expose every single injustice Kenyans have been subjected to. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Allow me just to ask you regarding the party politics of ODM as well, because you are intimately familiar, of course, with ODM. You worked closely with Raila Odinga at some point. And looking at it right now, with, as they always say, when the center, of course, does not all things fall apart, and we can see he was the main cog, the main fulcrum holding ODM. I wonder what is your accurate assessment of the party as it is right now, the self-cannibalization that is happening, the implosion within the party. What does it really tell you about inter-party democracy within ODM? Is this now the final end of ODM? Were people just caught tailors within ODM hanging on, even by the fingernails, on Raila Odinga's, public perception, that the way it had been received by the public, and, his political hoopsa?
Oh, okay. So I hope you want the truth. The truth is that there is no party called ODM. ODM is not a party. ODM is a cult, and the cult leader died. So because ODM is a cult and the cult leader died, it has to fall. The cult cannot remain as a cult because there is no charismatic leader to continue from where Raila left. So that's one. Two, ODM is not an institutional, it's not a democratic institution. The cult cannot be democratic. So its fall is good for the country. Its fall would be very, very welcome to people like me, because it's the appearance, the pretense that we had a party called ODM, that it was democratic, that it is an institution that is necessary for the well-being of the country, that has kept us in this state of reverie. It's like a state of it's difficult to actually describe what a reverie is. It's like a trance. When somebody is in a trance through mysticisms, this is what ODM has kept its members in. And so eventually, these people, because the cultic leader is not there, will get out of the trance. You've gone to church and you've seen these people when there is a lot of music and the drums and whatnot, they start speaking in different languages and they start making noises and they fall on the floor and they kick and they do all manner of things. Then they say that the evil spirit is getting out of them. This is what you are seeing in ODM. They are speaking in tongues, they are in a trance. Eventually, the evil spirit of the cultic leader will get out of them, and Kenya will go on normally. I'm not saying the other political parties are better. I'm not saying they are not cultic. I'm saying the less cults we have in Kenya, the better.
Right, but we've always built this country, parties along personalities. If you take away the personality, the party really crumbles. So it's not just a special case with ODM, other parties as well, they are of the same nature. Isn't that true? So it is unfair to pick up on ODM alone. Why can't you talk about...
But that is not true. That is not true. You see, the problem that I have with people who have not read history and who are not familiar with the history is that they will generalize the way you are generalizing, but it is fiction. In 1963, we did have real parties, you know, even though the ideology of the party, KANU originally, was not necessarily radical or revolutionary, but it was it was a nationalistic party that had an agenda. Their agenda was supported by majority of Kenyans. They wanted self-rule. They wanted self-governance. They wanted the white imperialist colonialists to return back to their country. They wanted land that had been taken from the majority of Africans expropriated by the British illegally to be returned. They wanted dignity of an African. So there was some kind of, you would call, on a broad brush, ideological, nationalistic vision that KANU had. On the other hand, there was KADU that wanted decentralized power, wanted almost what we have now, devolution, and did not care very much about the dignity of an African, but cared about communal interest of different ethnic groups within the body politic of Kenya. So that was also a set of beliefs, core beliefs, that these people held and fought for. So when KADU and KANU were contesting for power, and there were other parties, but I'm just giving examples of two. These were real ideological, you know, positions that these parties had. You don't have that anymore. If you say, for example, that you're speaking about UDA, what's their ideology? There is none. If you talk about ODM, what is an ideology? Cannot be Raila Odinga. An ideology cannot be William Ruto. An ideology cannot be Rigathi Gachagua. An ideology cannot be Kalonzo Musyoka. It has to be a philosophical way of looking at life vis-a-vis the interest of the people and looking at the material conditions of the country and seeing if the programs and the policy platforms of the party will be able to achieve the interests of the people, will be able to satisfy the interests of the people. But that is not being discussed in Kenya today. People are discussing tribalism. People are discussing who took the most heads of cattle to Raila's funeral. People are saying, oh, did you cry? Who wailed the loudest? People even worship Jirongo, who looted and plundered Kenya, you know, and saying it was the torch. I mean, this is a country without memory. We have to get it back where we were before. Kenya was much better as a country in 1963, because when people debated, and I was just 1963, either baby or not even born, but at that time, when you read history, when you look at what the debates were, there were real concrete issues that affected the majority of the people. When you listen to Tom Mboya's speech, either in the National Assembly or when he went to the Lancaster Conference or when he went to the conference, the All-African People's Conference in Ghana, you cannot compare to the kind of speeches that you're having nowadays in Kenya. These ones are complete verbiage, mainly in funerals. They are making noise, they are beating their chests, they are boasting of how much money they have,
all right,
how many girlfriends they have, how many vehicles they have.
We get a sense.
I mean, We've gotten to a point where we are not a functioning country where you can say people have the intellect to debate about anything. And unfortunately, Dibal, I have to say this, the media is failing us. The legacy media, there's no difference between the legacy media and the pedestrian on the street that does not know anything.
All right, so you say that we lack the intellectual vigor to interrogate issues, as it were. Is there anything maybe that because now you're really characterizing the country in the in a black, very bleak way. If someone is just tuning in and listening to you, he will say, "Oh my, this is truly a banana republic," as you're trying to.
We are a banana republic.
Yes, but is there anything? Is there anything good about this country that you can actually say?
No.
There's nothing totally
different. There's a difference between the country and the legacy media. There is a difference between the country and your elite crooks. I am distinguishing the country from the crooks. The crooks are less than 1% of the population, Debal. They are the ones I'm blaming.
Okay.
I'm not blaming the population.
Fantastic.
I'm saying the less than 1% now pretend that they are 99% of the people. They have messed up the country. They continue to mess it up. And the legacy media continue to give them a trumpet to do so. And I am saying, no, I'm here to spoil the party for them.
All right. I think time is ticking away from us, and there's a range of issues that we need to discuss. But I'll be remiss if we don't even talk about now the opposition. Now that we've really talked about broad-based government, the ODM as well. I don't know, what is your also accurate assessment or an appraisement of the united opposition as it is right now? We've just had recently one of their principals saying that they will not really be, they're not in a tearing rush to name their presidential candidate. That is, they will wait until, the providential time that they deem to be the appropriate time to mention or announce their presidential candidate. But do you think also the united opposition, with their agenda, which is, people are saying it is only one term, there's so much vacuum and emptiness in their rhetoric, aside from, bashing the president and just talking about one term. Can they make any discernible difference in terms of policy, in terms of governance?
First of all, I have not even spoken about broad-based. You said that I did. I didn't, because I think it's a joke. But you never asked me any question about broad-based, and I never did. I spoke about the elite. Unfortunately, for a lot of legacy media, I have a good memory. So I remember what I have said.
No, I was connecting this with, of course, the BBI and,
Yeah, but that's not broad-based. BBI was...
No, I was just the trend that has been formed, That was my train of thought. Anyway, just continue.
I'm not that lazy intellectually, so I'm not going to subscribe to things I have not said. But anyway, so I'm very disciplined when it comes to reasoning. So secondly, you asked me about the so-called united opposition. I don't know what that is. I mean, you told me there is a united opposition. I don't know what that is. But so I can't comment on something I don't know. There is no concrete anything called united opposition.
Okay.
But if you talk about individuals or parties or purported parties or actors who are saying that they would like to replace Ruto, I think they're entitled to what they are saying, because if you want to replace Ruto, you have to try to convince Kenyans that you represent something that is better than Ruto. So in terms of ideology, if they have, in terms of philosophy, if they have, in terms of programs and platforms, if they have, in terms of vision, if they have. I have not seen any of this in any of the so-called united opposition. So if you were to ask me a theoretical question, because I told you I don't know,
okay,
do I have in my mind, if I seen something that I can say is an ideology, concrete ideology identified with anyone calling himself or herself United Opposition, the answer is no.
All right.
Have I identified a philosophy? Do I know of a transformative program that has been put before the people to judge vis-a-vis Ruto? I will say no. But do we have individuals who have said they want to replace Ruto? Yes.
Okay.
Are some of these individuals better than Ruto? Some of them are marginally better than Ruto, and many of them are either the same as Ruto or worse than Ruto.
Thank you.
The ones who are worse than Ruto are people like Matiang'i. They are worse than Ruto. Mm-hmm. The ones who are better than Ruto are people like Maraga. Is better than Ruto.
Okay.
I think Gachagua is the same as Ruto. No, you asked a question and now you don't want me to answer.
No, because of time also. I'm being pressed because of time as well.
That's the thing. You asked the question, you don't want an answer.
No. Yeah. So I wanted just to give you a handy opportunity to just give us your final remarks as well. I promise you, we'll have you on the program next time when we arrange and when also you have an opportunity to continue, because there's a raft of issues that we need to discuss about the country.
Fine.
Yeah, we have also the Singapore dream as well that you will want to speak about. There is the debt issue in this country as well. So
there is no Singapore dream.
Yeah.
I am going to.
I don't want to start you.
I'm not going to talk about nonsense called Singapore.
Okay. Your closing remarks. Your closing remarks, Miguna.
I am going to contest the election for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. And I am going to do it on a transformative vision. A vision that identifies the interest of the people of Kenya as the core and the foundation of moving the country forward. A vision that is built on integrity and is built on socialism.
Thank you.
Not capitalism.
Thank you, Miguna. Of course, you're making the first pronouncement of that, but presidential, of course, aspiration here on TV47. We will talk to you more on another given time so that we can have ample time to go with that particular conversation. Thank you so much for electing to be with us. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
All right. We take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we continue with the news. And of course, I have the publication of The Star, just to give you a glimpse of what is the headline.
Huu wa Krismasi tatua Krisi inataka. Jishindie mara 5,000 ya bet yako kila dakika 20. Draw zinafanywa mara 3 kila saa, mara 72 kila siku. Shinda instant cash na bidhaa murwa kama fridge, cooker, car wash machine, popcorn maker, blender, microwave, home makeover, jogoo wa Krisi, bell za unga na shopping vouchers. Unaweza kuwa milionea kila dakika 20. Ni rahisi sana. Ingia kwa M-Pesa, weka paybill number 440440, account taka. Amount weka kutoka shilingi 20 hadi shilingi 2,000. Merry Christmas. Win big na tatua Krisi na Daka.